Damn. I think we're ready to go. Oh yeah, we're live, Charles. It's on you, baby. Oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh. Just as soon as we go and click go live, we got a technical difficulty. That's the way the day usually works out, right? But it's all good. Hunter man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Trying to be as good, handle myself as well as possible.
There you
Obviously,
go.
pretty cold
Hey,
out here in Florida today.
hey, man, how y'all lovely brothers doing, fellas?
Man, I was like, as soon as I click go live, did I hit Ucha or something? Like technical
Uh,
difficulty on my
hey,
end, or
it's me, cuz I'm good now, man. Appreciate everybody tuning back, man. And my right hand man, Robert Mack, always got the show running for me if I'm not here. So, what's going on, everybody?
well, hey, I'm loving it, except for Friday's results and everything.
Yeah, never, hey, man.
What were you seeing up in your neck of the woods, man?
Who for me?
Yeah, what was going on up there with Union,
Uh,
man?
do I gotta go first, or you want to go first? Because your game was a
Yeah,
lot more
man,
closer than mine
I
was.
want to hear somebody else. I want to hear somebody else's misery first, because you know how misery loves company, right?
Yeah, let's since we're on the Tigers subject, let's go ahead and go to these stats from this beat down
Let's
we had at
talk
Boot
about it.
Hill. How's everybody doing this lovely Wednesday night, man? Just a little disappointed from the lack of lackadaisical effort that my Tigers put up on Friday night. Hunter was right. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Mr. Williams was right. We couldn't stop the New not Newberry. I can't say Newberry. The Madison County Cowboys from running down our doggone throats. They did that. They came out very physical from the gate. I mean, the play that started us off, we got a 3 and out to start them out the gate, but they ran a fake punt and scored a touchdown. I mean, it was a torrential downpour after that. I mean, and the
Mm,
closest it was 22 to 8, I think. And I think from there on out, it was just all Madison. Kudos to the Boot Hill boys. So it'll be Boot Hill versus Burger Barn, part two. Well, part three, actually. Not proud of how we played. The last several matches we had against Madison, since the Coach Thomas era started, we was like a one touchdown less difference, but to lose by 26 on the road was pretty bad. Let's look at the Madison stats. So they keep the stats for Union County, but to run for 383 yards and the quarterback was accounted for only 70, but you have two backs ran for 125 plus. One player
mm,
had three total touchdowns. I mean, heck, they only threw for 28 yards. When you average 9.6 yards a carry, you're not beating nobody in rural football. So kudos to the boys, Boot Hill boys. They took care of business. 10-2 season still good, but fall short for a state championship for the fourth straight season in the Final Four. It's not going to get it done for a fan base. So I mean, outside of one touchdown pass to Gavin Jenkins, congratulations to him, by the way. He's committed to USF today on National Signing Day, so congratulations to him.
nice,
He
congrats.
so he's I think he'll be going as a corner. He won't be going as a wide receiver. He'll be going as a DB to join Alvin Isaac, who is also a rural player, Hawthorne Hornet receiver. He's playing running back for the Bulls, so that's over there in South Florida, but he's been a very good player for 4 years. Appreciate Gavin Jenkins' hard dedication to the Tiger football again. Falling short of state championship game is not what we wanted to be at, but it is what it is. Madison County blows us out. Not proud of how we played, but it is what it is.
Well, I tell you, we didn't see a whole lot different over in Hawthorne because while our score is a little closer, it still was a pretty dominating performance by Hawthorne. Mr. Roundtree was able to come in late mop-up duty and show what the future looked like for Hawthorne, and the future for Hawthorne looks real good, man. Him as a freshman, he spins it, right? Like, he can spin it real well, and I would not be surprised if he ended up being a big time prospect later on if he keeps on developing.
You told Roundtree,
But
right?
the person that yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, because uh, Mr. Curtis was pretty impressive too. He completed about 70% of his passes, threw for over 100 yards. But where Hawthorne had the most success was spreading the Williston defense out and having Keenan Johnson run like a full-grown man. I mean, he ran the ball what like 25 times, had almost 200 yards rushing, and
Yeah, that's that
on
workhorse
the
back right
TD
there.
that I posted on Facebook. Yeah, on the TD I posted on Facebook, where he just split the entire defense, shook a tackle, and took it an extra 20 yards to the house. I was just kind of like, wow, this kid's legit. Like he was the size of some of our defensive linemen and moved like some of our DBs. Which when you see it on film with film in high school, there's one thing, but when you get up there and you see it in person, and it's just completely different. It was impressive to see in person. I think they're going to give Madison a real run for their money. Um, and where Hawthorne was worried about having to try to reload, they definitely, or even rebuild a little bit of their roster. They definitely have a couple of seniors and Keenan Johnson, Mr. DeBose, and Adrian Curtis, who, quite frankly, could easily carry them to a victory over Madison and the Villages this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good matchup between those two again when they face off in the Villages because these two have history together. With Madison and Hawthorne. You're talking about two programs that like you have Madison that's basically been the top dog in rural football for the last 2 decades, and Hawthorne
Right.
being a consistent state title team over the last 5 years. It's gonna be good to see these two going on it again. I guess that's one of the things. It's kind of like this is the matchup that most people, if you looked on paper at the beginning of the playoffs, this was the clear matchup that was going to happen. Like
Right.
we thought there could have been an upset along the way, but if they're going just off of on paper, these were the two best teams in rural football this year. So we're going to get to see them play for all the marbles this coming week, later this week, down there in the Villages.
Mhm.
Looking forward to seeing how this one turns out.
Yeah, in fact, I really, even though we did have some upsets and everything along the way, it's definitely chalk in the end when it comes to the actual state title game. One versus two seed matchup with really the one and the two could have been interchangeable with the way they both performed this season. So nobody would have been mad seeing Madison as number one, Hawthorne as number two, and nobody was really mad seeing Hawthorne as number one, Madison as number two. So when it boils down to it, this is going to be a great matchup. I'll tell you though, Williston did have a few things that they did that were pretty impressive. They were able to make some adjustments to finally slow down a little bit of the Hawthorne defense, but not really stop the stop the Hawthorne offense. And where I knew Williston was in trouble was one of the guys that I really think should be considered for high school offensive player of the year in the rural class. Mr. Williams, our starting running back, number 22, he was good for 5 yards a pop on almost every carry this entire season. But the carries that we were used to seeing him get 5 to 7 yards, all of a sudden we're only going for 1 to 2. Right. And as soon as that happened, it was the early warning sign of a long night for the Red Devils. And even though the Red Devils were able to convert on some different plays and make some big plays, there were just a few uncharacteristic mistakes, like the blocked field goal for a touchdown. We usually hit our field goals inside of 40 yards, right? So it's like all of a sudden seeing a 30 something yard field goal go thump thump and taking it back the other way for 7 points ended up being one of those momentum shifts where I believe it was 7-0 at the time that happened. And instead of going from 7-3, all of a sudden it's 13-0. And you're talking a huge swing in points right there all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And in big games like that, any kind of mistakes when it comes to turnovers, when it comes to special teams, those are the type of things that can kill a team when they are trying to get back into the game.
Yeah, that blocked field goal ended up being the thing that just really sapped the momentum out of the Williston sideline, where it was close. It was a one-score game. It had the potential to be a 4-point game, and then all of a sudden, the game's busted wide open with a 2-touchdown lead, and you could just see almost like an immediate deflating of the Williston sideline. Now, don't get me wrong; they made some adjustments. They stayed in it. They were working hard at it, but the two things like seeing Jamari Williams' usual 5 to 7 yards a carry on his inside runs going from 1 to 2 was an early warning sign, and then the momentum of the game completely went in Hawthorne's favor on the block field goal.
And it takes just
So,
one play. It takes one play to really overchange the game. Like for example, even out there in Union County versus Madison, that punt for a touchdown, that fake punt, was
mhm.
the play that changed the whole game for the Tigers. You had a block punt, a fake punt for a touchdown. You don't score until you're down 3 scores, and then you get a fumble inside your side of the field. One, you play that Brady broke the camel's back. So we play games like this, you got to play clean football. I mean, that's why I said earlier last week. If you don't play clean football when you're Williston and Union County go into hostile environments, state championship on the
Right.
line, you cannot fumble the bag at any time against these guys because they're like piranhas. They're ready to pounce anytime you make a mistake, and they will capitalize on it. So, like how Madison capitalized on a fake punt after a 3-and-out, and then after y'all field goal was blocked, that was the plays that changed the game in favor of Hawthorne and Madison. So who will play the cleanest football on Friday? We don't know. Uh, I'm making my prediction now for the state championship game. I know I'm a little ahead of schedule. I don't like Madison at all. I said this to Hunter Robert this past week. I'm going Hawthorne for a three-peat. 28-17 in a three-peat.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think I think I
What do you
think the
got?
oh sorry, go ahead.
Well, let's see what Hunter's prediction is, because yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll skip ahead early, because I like seeing the Madison hate just flow through you. You know, it's like you're trying
Yes.
to channel the dark side of the force over here. Like,
The force is well with me right now, young Skywalker.
right,
Well,
right.
we might have little Luke Skywalker here, but I'm going to be the Darth Vader of tonight, and I guess that fits with me wearing all black because I got the Madison Cowboys pulling out the 1 hour championship against Hawthorne. From
So
what
you
I
got
saw
All
of
right.
them earlier this year, they seem to be a team that when I saw the last few years, they really kind of struggled in the trenches. When I saw them this year, that seems to have been something they finally corrected a bit. They ran the ball down Columbia's throat, just like they ran the ball down pretty much everyone's throat they played throughout the season. And when you look at it, they play clean. They don't turn the ball over that often. And that's a recipe to win a lot of games. And that's something that when you look at all the teams that they have been able to run on this year, I don't know if I would put Hawthorne above those teams that they ran the ball on so easily. I think that this is a matchup that favors Madison in the trenches, and it's going to favor them in the game. So I would say Madison by about 7 to 10.
Well, it looks like I'm the tiebreaker here, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm changing my original state title prediction from Madison to Hawthorne, right? And the main reason I'm changing it is because of how effective Hawthorne is at spinning it in the air, and I think that's going to give them enough to outweigh some of that trench work, right? That Madison has, and I think that they're going to be able to stretch the field vertically and horizontally in ways that Madison probably hasn't had a chance to experience this year. So I'm going to go with Hawthorne, and I'm going to say that it's going to be 28 to 21. That's
Okay.
my feeling right now. So, with that being said, let's start. I went ahead and made a note of it so we can see if our predictions are right at the end of it next week. We got some end of season award nominees, right? So
Yes,
I know
sir.
Charles had reached out to some of the fan base to see what they had to say. So I think you got a couple of nominees. Who you got, man?
I do. Well, let's go ahead and go through some of the nominees. How y'all doing? I've been having technical difficulty all show, but I'm gonna get this show over
You're
with
fine.
because um. So I reached out to some of the local fan bases in the area. Let me see if I can find my list. Here we go. So I reached out to one of the fan base. One got back with me, and here's a nominee. So for comeback team of the year, they would have put Newberry down for comeback team from last year based on this year. They got
Okay.
Coach Ed Johnson for coach of the year, Logan McLeod and Hayden Moore for offensive player of the year, and Jacquez Carter for defensive player of the year. This is from the Newberry fan base.
All right. All
And,
right.
I like
Now
the I
I'm
and
trying.
then
like I like the idea of Newberry being a potential comeback team of the year, but I would say that they would still be considered more about where we're going to be talking about next week more than this week.
right. So I have some other nominees. I do have some nominees from Union County. Uh, for player of the year, they're going with Drew Simmons, the sophomore running back, who had a great year for being a second year starter. He was actually the feature back. He was not a feature back last year, but he was a feature back this year. You have Trenton Cloud for defensive player of the year. From Hawthorne, you have Keaton Johnson for player of the year, the running back. Of course, we talked about earlier. That's all I have so far. I'm still waiting for other fan base to get back with me. Those are the three major award nominees that I've got for other fan bases outside of Newberry.
Okay.
All right. All right. I like it. I'm trying to write everything down right now and keep track of it here. So, uh, you've got some offensive and defensive player of the year nominees, but then it also sounds like you had Drew Simmons, overall player of the year from Union County, and Keenan Johnson, overall player of the year from Hawthorne. That sound right?
No. I have Drew Simmons and Keaton Johnson for offensive players of the year.
Offensive player of the year. Okay, not like an overall player of the year.
No.
Okay. All right.
And I
Gotcha.
have Trenton
Gotcha. All
Klein
right.
for defensive player of the year for Union County.
All right, I'm keeping up with all of it here. If you got some opinions on those at all, Hunter, you can go ahead and start giving some of those while I'm getting caught up here, and I'll interject if I need some help
I
getting it
would
all
say that
put together here.
one player that does come to mind for me that I saw play earlier this year, since we were talking about Madison, L.J. Crumeny from Madison, who I believe is a running back over there. I would say he would be someone that I would consider for offensive player of the year.
LJ Crumley, I think he's the quarterback, isn't he?
Okay, so he's the quarterback. I just knew he ran the ball a lot,
He might as well call him a running back.
or
Matter
an
of
athlete.
fact,
All right.
let's look at some of these players' stats throughout the year so we can let people know why they're being acknowledged for these positions. I'll start off with Keaton Johnson from Hawthorne, who is I think a 4-year starter for Coach Cornelius Ingram's crew. Coming off a big game against Williston, he ran for over 170 yards in that matchup. Let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers for Mr. Johnson this year. And you said L.J. Crumedy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you doing your running back for Williston for offensive player of the year, Robert?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think he's got to be nominated because just like we said, is the ability of Williston to establish him in the run game was responsible for a lot of their success and their playoff run because they could just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely dominate the clock while getting possessions that whenever you had a running back that could pop off 5 to 7 yards of carry up the middle like it was nothing. And I think even during the Chiefland game, it seemed like every time he touched the ball, it was a first down. right? Just
Right.
absolutely took over on some games and put in some dominating work. And a good bit of that also has to be shared with his O line because towards the end of the season, his O line was making sure that he wasn't getting touched until he was 2.5 yards past the line of scrimmage. Right. So
Right.
definitely there. And so, yeah, I saw a lot right there that made me think if I had to put in the nominee, especially for the Williston fan base, there you go.
I can respect that. You talked highly about him all season long, if I'm not mistaken. He's a very powerful back. I
So,
watched him during the Chiefland matchup, how physical he made a presence against the Indians. He was actually the difference maker along with that defense in that huge win in the first round. So I can definitely understand why he chose him. But we're looking back at Keenan Johnson, a 4 year starter for the Hornets. This past season, he ran for 196 carries for 1,657 yards, 8.5 yards per rush. 150 yards per game and 21 touchdowns. So for him to have almost 200 carries and still average almost 9 yards a carry is phenomenal, in my opinion. I'm not even a Hawthorne fan, but you have to recognize the realism and how much of he is to the Hawthorne program. You take him out despite losing, you lose CJ to basketball. You had Aiden Curtis out for majority of the season. And what for his workhorse ability at the back position, could Hawthorne make it back to state championship? Who knows? But he is the epitome of consistency for the Hawthorne program. So that's why a lot of people look at him as not only the best player on the offense, but probably the best player on their team.
and he definitely dominated on Friday night. I mean, again, when you got a back that you can just give the ball 20 plus times a game and he's still ripping off 7 to 8 yards a carry and the
Yeah,
final four, yeah, that's a back right there.
that's a
Because
back for
yeah,
sure.
he finished with 150 yards a game, 21 tutties, and 8.5 yards per carry. Like that's putting in work, man. That's putting
Oh
in
yeah,
work. So
and under 200
Keisha,
yards. Under
okay, yeah. So Keisha agrees with us in the chat. I was just about to ask her. I'm like, who was at Newberry freshman year? It sounds like we're on the same page there. Is that right? So
yeah,
she was saying Keenan was at Newberry his freshman year.
okay, he's a Newberry freshman. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah,
So,
What
like,
was you
are
gonna
we
Newberry.
say? You made
finalizing our choices tonight, or are we gonna like announce it like after the season?
we'll finalize it probably tonight because the state championships between now and next week, so we got to get them out quickly. So
Yeah, like we'll finalize nominees tonight, right? And then we'll put them on the website on North Central Florida football, so people can vote for it, right? And we can weight it where basically it's like having 5 votes, right? The fan vote counts as
correct.
2, all right, and then
Uh,
each of us count as 1, and whoever's got the most points, we can say is the winner of that. If that sounds like a good idea to you guys.
I'm cool with it.
I just assumed that we were gonna have like whoever the fan winner is, and then we'd have our own choice on winner on our end.
Well, that's not a bad idea too. A fan selection and then a panel selection.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so let's do
hmm,
this. We can do both. I'm going with either one. But my next
okay.
person I want to talk about is Drew Simmons, sophomore running back for Union County. He's little in stature at 5'8", 152, but he packs an electric punch. For his sophomore season, as the first year as a featured back for Andrew Thomas's Union County Tigers, here's how his stats look. Entering his sophomore season, I'm sorry, my laptop is really changing. Here we go. For the year, he had 161 carries, 1,444 rushing yards, not touchdowns, 9 yards per carry, averaging 131 yards per game, 9 100-yard games, and 17 touchdowns. Without his hard work and ability at the running back position, the Tigers' offense could not thrive running the football. So, kudos to him for not only being a sophomore on varsity, but being a big implement player on the Tigers' run game. So, that's why
Yeah.
I advise him to be on the nomination board for Rural Player of the Year because not only he's a future back as a sophomore, but averaging 9 yards a carry, being the workhorse back of a Tiger team that went to the Final Four is still amazing. Only in his second year, so
I like it. I like it. I didn't realize he was only a sophomore too. That's even more impressive for the stats he's put in. Then, what do you think, Hunter?
Yeah, and that means Union's got him for 2 more years too.
Yeah, he's only 46. He's 44 yards away from hitting 2,000 career rushing yards, and he's only a sophomore. So just can't wait to see what he'll look like next year. But I have to say, without his running ability, the Tigers wouldn't be going too far this year in the playoffs. So that's my next nod is for offensive player of the year for Rule is Drew Simmons, running back for Union County.
I like it. All right. So far in the notes here, I've got Drew Simmons, Keenan Johnson, LJ. Uh, I forget how
I'm
you
about,
pronounce his last
I'm about
name,
looking. I'm
and
about looking
then
this up next. Actually, LJ Crumity
and
from
then
Madison.
Jamari Williams. Yeah, and let's take a look at because he's like the only. It's weird how it's like the Heisman is all about the QB, and now the high school player of the year seems to be all about the running back, right? But
Yeah,
when you look at LJ, he's a junior. He's got 94 carries for 681 yards. He's got 10 rushing touchdowns on the year, but he's also the
right.
starting quarterback with a 51% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns through the air, a 95 quarterback rating, and
Mm-hmm.
averages 18.1 yards per completion. So I mean, we're talking about a guy who can effectively put the ball in the air, even though Madison only throws it for about 60 yards a game. It seems
Right.
like whenever he does, he pops the top off of it.
And that's impressive too. Like when you run the football so well, the defense gonna load the box, and that's what's so impressive about a player like him. You're gonna spare him to run, but man, if you get a receiver on an island one-on-one coverage, he's gonna pop it off for 60, 70 yards. So that's so good about a team that can run the ball so well, like Madison. They can find ways to beat you through the air too. So kudos to him for a great junior season. I also want to talk about my next player of the year option, but he's from the defensive side of football. But he also was a 2-year starter on the offense side, and that's Trenton Cloud for Union County. Trent Cloud actually was a nominee for Rural Player of the Year actually last year, but that award went to C.J. Ingram. In his second year starting, his final year of high school football, he had 65 solo tackles, 13 assisted, 78 total. He had 23 and a half tackles for loss as a linebacker.
Wow.
23 and a half tackles for loss to go with 7.5 sacks and 6 quarterback hurries. That is impressive at a linebacker position. So for his high school career, 2 years as a starter, 48 and a half TFLs and a goal with 173 tackles and 6 careers, and actually no, 14 and a half career sacks. So, and then on offense side of football, he had a really solid year as well for the Tigers. I'm not being biased. I'm just want to read some of the stats for you. He completed 62% of his passes with 1,409 yards, averaging 128 through the air, 22 touchdowns, which is a career high, and I believe only 6 INTs on the year for Trenton Cloud. So not only you're the top passer of your team, you're the top defensive player of your team, and then you also have 587 rushing yards and 7 more touchdowns. So almost 30 total touchdowns for Trenton Cloud this year. The only reason I didn't give him offensive player of the year nine because as a sophomore, what Drew Simmons did is amazing. So that's why they give Trent Clyde the offensive player of the year nod. But he's definitely there for defense.
All right.
All right.
So here I'm trying to pull him up on Union Stats so I can get him on here. And so Klein Klein, right?
KLIEN.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Um,
I'm gonna be looking at Newberries now. I think Mr. Jarquez Carter for defense that I've been
well,
hearing about.
we'll talk about him next week because I got
Oh
some
yeah.
notes for next week from the Newberry fan base that you had given us.
Well,
So
okay,
we'll
cool.
go over the other local ones because he's got competition from guys at like Vanguard and Buchholz and everything like
Yeah,
that
man.
too. Although
It's
he might still be defensive player of the year because he was wrecking his sophomore year. So
I'll have to
Definitely for
look a
sure.
little. Like I might have a few other like players that come to mind, but I don't have the way to look up their stats right now. So
Who
Right.
I will
you
have to
got?
look.
I'll look them up for you.
Yeah, same here.
Uh, I know that check Lacosta Bird from Fort White because I know that he as a freshman he had over 100 tackles and he's back there
I'll
this year.
I'll look up Fort White
Okay.
right quick.
Yeah, we gotcha. We
And
got you.
obviously
And
Teamwork makes the
Williston
dream work,
defense
baby.
comes to mind as they might have some good numbers on their side.
all right, you said
Oh yeah.
Racosta White from Fort White.
Lacosta Bird.
Bird. Okay, okay, okay. All right, I'm getting to
With
the
10
varsity.
tackles for loss.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, that's a heck of a performance for the year, right? I mean, and it looks like that's not even that. I don't even think they got the Williston game updated right there, and I think that's only through J.
So he could have had definitely not more than he would have for sure.
Yeah,
What was the
yeah,
final numbers?
yeah,
Uh,
and so even without the Williston game, 99 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 61 solo, 38 assisted.
hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I never, I, I'm not trying to be, a fanboy right now. But what Trent Clyde did this year, not only being the handman at quarterback, but to get 24 tackles for loss at the linebacker position while playing quarterback is absurd.
Yeah, that's a lot,
You know
a
the
lot, a
fact
lot.
that like if he with him being two sides of the ball, even if he didn't win at outright at defensive, he would definitely have a case for overall player of the year because of having
Agreed.
stats on both ends of the board.
And I agree with you, Hunter. To have players to like be two sided, like not be as effective as it would be on the main side of the ball. But you got a player like once again Trent Clyde to have almost 8 sacks and 25 tackles for loss on defense to go well along with like I think 100 almost 100 tackles. That's amazing. So and they have almost 30 touchdowns offensively. So that we should have had a. Do we have a overall player of the year
We
category?
do.
We should have. We
Yeah, we
do.
are.
Okay.
We got it.
Well, I would definitely put
Right
him
there.
on the docket there for that award for sure.
Now,
Robert,
from
is there any Williston defensive players that come to mind?
Yeah, for real.
definitely, we had a guy in the middle of the defensive line named Tim Taylor. So, of course, that's who Blake, the public address announcer, would always call the tool man. So, any of you 90s kids
Ah,
back to the home
Tim the
improvement
Tool
era,
Man
there
Taylor.
you
Yes, sir.
Yep. But he was definitely a tool in the toolbox for the Wilson defense because he ended up with 80 tackles from like a three technique, right? So
Okay.
imagine a three technique getting 80 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and really being a guy that, because of how well he did, was double teamed on a lot of those tackles where he'd have to split a double or he'd have to take up the space for the linebackers and stuff to clean it up. Um, Although I do want to give an honorable mention from the Williston fan base, we got a sophomore who was out there wrecking things on the edge, uh, playing defensive end, and had 16 tackles for loss as a sophomore, right, with
Wow.
64 tackles overall, Noah Robinson. So if it was, I think he was also a benefit of having a three technique that had to take double teams, where all of a sudden you're leaving tackles, people wouldn't chip. People wouldn't chip off of Mr. Robinson, and so it seemed like that was always a bad idea when they would leave that out. And we had some pretty good linebacker play and everything too. But really that three technique was it's kind of like how the Eagles defense in the NFL is all better because of Jalen Carter, right? Our
For
defense was a
sure.
lot better because of our three technique and Tim Taylor.
For sure. I definitely
All
have
right.
to give you that. My question to you is this, gentlemen. Do you think, and this is kind of off topic of the rule division, but do you think Buchholz have enough firepower to win a state championship this year?
Well, we're going to
I
get to
like
that
the
preview
I
of
like the
that in just a
question,
little bit,
but
right?
we are gonna talk about that upcoming Final Four game.
Yeah.
So should we save it for when we get to that point?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
let's
I
save
agree.
that because I also got a fan nominee for Hawthorne that I'm looking up right now, Leland Johnson,
I was
right
just about
here.
to.
So
Uh, hey, I'm gonna tell you another person, Nazi Gent from Hawthorne,
that was her
105.
second. She said both of
Nazi
those
Gent,
guys, so you're on the same page, man.
Nazi Gent, 9.5 tackles per game, 2 TFLs, but 105 tackles from the D tackle position. That is amazing to go along with. He only had 1 sack for the year, but their leading sack man though. E. Thomas. Who's E. Thomas for Hawthorne?
Let's look it up. Ethan
Ethan
Thomas.
Thomas, 6'5", 240. My goodness.
Dude, I'm telling you, when you see Hawthorne on film, it's a lot different than seeing them in person. I think because of how they had to travel for their schedule. It looked like they were playing against a lot of people that were their same size, but then they were a dominating size over Williston, right? Because
For sure.
even Keenan Johnson looks like a defensive end for a small college instead of a running back.
Right. I gotta tell you. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I would look him up on 24/7 right now for the recruiting because he's gonna be a workhorse somewhere in college football, man. Keenan. And if you're a Hawthorne fan watching right now, has Keenan Johnson committed to anybody yet? Because I'm really curious.
Not to change the subject too much, but we do also have the 4 team nominations with overall offense, defense, and comeback. So who are we thinking on these? Or has anyone like given us some suggestions on that?
Outside of Newberry for comeback team of the year, I see coach of the year. You had Ed Johnson for coach of the
Oh, we
year.
forgot coach of the year.
Yeah, so coach of the year, I think you have Ed Johnson for Newberry. You got
Well,
the head
remember
coach.
we got Newberry. We got Newberry for next week. So who you want
Yeah, that's
for Aurora?
Rule. That's right. So Rule, you got to put Adam Gore from Chiefland, Pruitt from Williston, Cornelius from Hawthorne. Uh, I will say put the head coach from. I know it's kind of a long shot, don't judge me, but put J head coach up there. For the fact they was a 5th seed into the playoffs, you have to give them credit. They was the highest ranked panhandle team in the playoffs this year, despite losing the first round. You have to give them credit. They was a really good team this year, and they was possibly a 4 seed if things would have shook their favor. So I'll put the head coach for Jay up there,
Madison,
uh,
obviously.
and of course Madison head coach up there as well. That's
There is
pretty
one
much
other
it.
name I'll throw in. I want to throw in Demetra Jackson from Fort White because when you look at the injuries that Fort White has had over the course of the season, for them to make it to the second round at all, it's definitely worth a mention.
Yeah, that is true.
Yes, sir.
That is that is true. Um, so those are our nominees for coaches of the year rule. I do have a nominee
All
for
right.
comeback player of the year, but it's for the second half of the season. It's
We
two
didn't have a
teams.
comeback player of the year though. Oh, you're
Yeah,
saying
team.
team. Okay,
Team.
I think he said player on accident. I was like, wait, did I miss something?
Oh, I
That would
thought
have
it
been
said
a
team.
good
All right.
one if we had time to look into it.
Yeah.
My
Well,
cup.
who you got for comeback team?
I got two of them.
Go ahead.
It's so one for sure is the Dixie County Bears for what they did this second half of the season. For them to make it all the way to the villages for their championship game after all the trash I was talking about Dixie about a month ago. What is going on Dixie? They have fueled their take up with the ultimate comeback story, and they're now playing for a state championship. So Dixie and Trenton are my two teams. Trenton entered the
All right.
playoffs with 2 wins, and to make it all the way to the final four, you have to be worth some recognition. You have to be worth some recognition. But those are my two comeback. I'm talking for this year, but overall, you have to. It's hard in rule because everybody's the same. I mean, if anybody had been comeback, it would probably be Chiefland. Because Chiefland was a one and done
Yeah.
team last year. That's what
Don't take mine. That's who I was gonna say.
You gonna say Chiefs? I see. We
Oh
great
yeah,
minds think
yeah.
alike.
Because I mean, they were a 4-win team last year.
Yeah, the great minds think alike though.
That's probably the
So
safest pick.
Yeah.
yeah, I think the safest pick will probably be Chiefland or Dixie County for me. I think I'm gonna go with Dixie County.
All right. Well, you got Dixie County. I got Chiefland. Hunter, you got somebody else you want to add?
Uh honestly, I'd have to go with Chiefland also. I just like that's like I said, it's the safest pick. And like Charles said, most of these teams they're about where they were last year or better. Like there wasn't really a lot of teams that were really bad last year that are good this year.
I actually I might put a sleeper pick in. I know Robert, you're gonna hate me for saying this because who have they played this year?
Uh-oh.
But you beat the teams that's in front of you, right? That's the rule, right?
Yep. Hey.
I will put Arsenal Christian up there. Arsenal Christian for going undefeated in the regular season, despite losing the first round, they still were undefeated. You have to give them flowers. So Arsenal Christian will be a team for a comeback team of the year.
How many wins did they
Okay.
have last year though? Like for it to be a
Let's
comeback, they
look.
had to have been bad last year.
Touche, touche. Let me look at the Robert. Look up Arsenal Christian 2023 season.
I'm looking. I'm looking right now. So, hello. Helps if I type correctly.
AUCILLA.
Got it. All right. So now let's go to fall
It was.
23,
I don't think it was
24.
a playoff team last year, if
Oh,
I'm
they
not
were 9 and
mistaken.
2. They were 9 and 2 last year. So
Never mind. They was undefeated this year. Never mind. I take them out the market.
yeah, we'll take
All
them
right,
off
so like
here.
obviously with defense of the year, we could look at Williston as a very good candidate there. Any other
Correct.
team like Hawthorne comes to mind. You could probably say Madison too. Like who else comes to mind for defense?
Uh, why? If we didn't lose a Chief or we get cut by Madison, I would put Union County up there. But I, I, I mean, to have shutouts to begin, if we do like regular season or we do the whole season.
Whole
It's a
season.
whole season, but obviously like how they do against in top competition is going to obviously hold a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, I guess, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm about to let the fans decide that because the jury's out for me for Union County. I don't know. To be honest with you, I want to pick them. But like I know we ain't playing many big teams like Madison and Hawthorne has. But like I just told you, you beat the teams in front of you. So we beat teams in front of us. But when it comes to like the games we know we're supposed to be ready for, we didn't show up. So uh, I'll say the main three were definitely Williston, uh,
Madison or
Newberry.
Hawthorne.
Mass I'm sorry, I keep saying Newberry like they're in
Yeah.
rural.
Well, because because like, Newbury probably is like should be considered rural, but for some reason they're thrown in with
2A.
2A, which I guess if we're talking about like Newberry, we know Bradford's going to come up when we get to next week. So obviously we have a few teams that come to mind.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Newberry is the best two-way local team in the area. They're better than
Yeah.
Bradford now, in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
they oversat Bradford. And well, for Newberry had to run into Coco, I think Newberry would have seen Coco in the Final Four. And it wasn't for that.
Agreed. Agreed.
But
Well,
unfortunately,
y-
who
now,
comes to
now,
mind for
we
offense?
we ended up talking about all the awards for a long time, giving a bunch of the individual teams and players their flowers. Do we want to just do a recap of the Final Four next week instead of trying to still sit here and talk all the preview of the games, and we'll finish out with offense of the year and high school team of the year and call it a night.
I don't
I'm
know.
cool
Like,
with
you think
that.
we could just go quick? Like, you want to just go quick and just pick our winners for the Final Four games that are coming up?
We
All
Yeah, we
right,
can do
all
that.
right. So
Well,
here we go.
let's
Y'all ready?
do our offense of the year real quick though. Offense
All
of the
right, go
year. Who
ahead.
you got,
And
Charles?
I'm skip good at Hunter first. I'm on me. You always going first. Give Hunter the break for once.
Oh, here,
You
I'll go
did-
first then. I'll go first. Right now, after seeing them in person, I got to give it to Hawthorne, man. They were balanced. They could run the ball. They could throw the ball. They could complete passes at a 70% clip against the elite defense and spread it out and run it. As much as it pains me to say it, I think you got to give Offense of the Year to Hawthorne.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree as well. And despite us losing it the way we lost to Madison, I ought to put a second because we're the same way as Hawthorne. We could spread it out, but the problem is we're not consistent. So I say we were second on that list. Huh?
And I would say
We'll still
Team
give
of the
them.
Year, we could say all four of the Final Four teams would be probably the
We
nominees
had,
for
oh
Rural.
yeah, I didn't give
I
my
like that.
final
I like
card too.
that.
All right,
I
so
like that.
1A.
Later we come back here, didn't young. That was young
Okay,
boss said. That was
okay, so
true.
1A. The Final Four games
That's
is
true.
Chaminade hosting Trinity and
Spoil it.
Cardinal Newman hosting Clearwater Central Catholic.
Here,
Cart.
let me pull up my bracket here real quick to keep track here because I was off of that a little bit. Playoff.
I
Fan.
got Carter Mooney beating Clearwater Central Catholic.
Newman, but yeah.
Oh, so Carter, they both in the final four. My fault. Carter Newman for sure, especially after what you said about how they played against Buchholz. They're gonna be right back here. I'm gonna say Carter
I agree
Newman.
with that.
So I got Carter Newman. So I got Carter Newman 17-10 over Clearwater Central Catholic on the state championship.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
agree with
got
the Cardinal Newman pick.
I got Trinity Christian still and Cardinal Newman winning these two matchups here.
Who's Trinity Christian playing?
They got to go
Uh,
to South Florida to play Chaminade Madonna.
Yeah,
mhm.
that's a roadkill game. Sorry, Shabbat Banana 45-7. Sorry, bro.
Yeah,
Shabbat
I
Banana.
was talking to someone about this game earlier this week. He expects it to be a blowout, and he expects Chaminade to roll through Trinity.
I think Shabbat Banana's gonna at least put a 45 plus on the boys. I think Trinity might even score more than 14 points.
But it's also worth
They're
noting, like Chaminade they have not beaten Trinity in a playoff game, but that's the reason I think that Chaminade gets the win here is because they have lost so many times to Trinity. Trinity is down, Chaminade is loaded. This is their chance that they want to stick it into Trinity for all those past losses.
so this is like a bunch
that,
of
that
full
that
couple
revenge
years of
factor.
animosity.
That revenge factor is something, isn't it?
Well,
So you're not wrong, man. I think you could be onto something there with trying to even it up and everything. But I picked Trinity before the playoffs, and I'm going to stick with it for now.
all
Yeah, it's
right,
fair.
all right.
So
Two A.
let's see,
Who's next for
2A.
two A? Who's
Two
next for
A,
2A,
two A?
we got Gadsden versus Booker T. Washington, and we got Cardinal Mooney versus
Hey
Coco.
man, the team of destiny, the Gaston County Jaguars. Give me Gaston County with the upset.
Okay, okay.
is that game
I'm
at
going.
Gadsden?
It's Gas is
Yes,
hosting.
it is.
Gas is hosting. I like the Jaguars' chances of pulling off the upset against the Booker T. Washington crew from South Florida, and I got them winning state. I'm calling it now. If
Okay,
Gaston wins Friday, they win the state.
okay.
I think this is going to be
And
a
then you
really
got
good game, but it's hard to go against the Tornadoes of Booker T. I got them in a close game here.
All right, it's on you.
Well, I'm gonna go with the home team in Gadsden, and I'm gonna go with the road team in Cocoa for the other Final Four matchup. And
Yeah,
Is
I'm
Coco on
gonna
the road?
Coco's on the road against
Coco. Yep,
Southridge, right?
Coco is going down to Cardinal Mooney, Sarasota.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Coco's got.
Yep.
I got Coco there. They looked like they dominated a Newberry team that we thought that Newberry was going to hold them down defensively, and Coco just barreled right through them. I think
I
Coco
mean,
is the best team
Okay,
in
so
2A.
this.
Coco looks like the team that could win a lot of state championships, didn't they?
Hey man, I'm gonna tell you right now, that Coco Dynasty is against Gaston County. Let's go.
Hey,
I'm
I mean,
call,
I like the
We'll
call out, but
see.
I think
hey man, I'm tired of
I
Coco.
think I like Coco. I like Coco in the final. So,
All right.
what do you got for 3A? We got Reigns hosting Booker, and we've got Ugale hosting Northwestern.
All right, here's my pick. Ray's gonna beat Booker easily, Northwestern going to be Ugali close. Miami Northwestern's winning state. I got Teddy
Okay, I
Bridgewater
think
winning.
Charles has my exact picks because that was
I
what I
got
was going to say. So
I
Well,
got
then
Teddy Bridgewater
what team does Teddy Bridgewater sign with during the playoffs to be a backup for a team that needs a scout team QB? Like, you think he joins Daniel Jones over in the Vikings and everything too?
Man, hey, did we ever find out who's the first coach to win a state championship as a rookie?
we need to
No, I've
ask.
never hadn't heard. All right. There's got to be some
We'll look
sort of
into that.
contact I can reach out to for that, right? Like, but you've got Northwestern winning state. I've got Northwestern winning state. What do you got, Hunter?
Like I said, I had same chicks as Charles. I got Northwestern over Reigns in the final.
That's right. You said that. That's right. My bad. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. So moving up to 4A, we've got American Heritage versus St. Augustine and American Heritage's Stadium in Plantation. And we
Oh
got
boy.
Jones versus Naples since Jones pulled out the 2-touchdown win against Vanguard. Jones is hosting Naples here. So who do you guys got?
All
Okay.
right. So
Do you want to go first or
go
me?
ahead. You go.
Okay. I will say that I did have Jones last week, and I'm sticking with that again this week. And I will say American Heritage and Jones are the two best teams in 4A. Jones, I think, will have a competitive game with Naples. American Heritage, I think they're going to beat the brakes off of St. Augustine. I think it's a running
Sheesh.
clock down there.
Wow.
In the great words of my good friend Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. The St. Augustine Yellow Jackets did not win the state championship last year, but they was there last year. They're going back to win it this year. Like I said, Augustine going back to the state championship game, and they're going to beat VB3 in Orlando Jones.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
got Jones and
I,
St. Augustine the state championship game.
I'm going to go Jones overall to support my new Gator receiver, right?
Oh, I'm
Beating
pissed.
Naples. And I think they're going to play against American Heritage in the title game with Jones pulling it out in Miami.
All right.
So let's see, 5A. 5A, we got Manatee hosting
You about to leave?
St. Thomas Aquinas, and then we have Lakeland hosting Niceville,
I'm trying. I need
right?
to catch the
So
bus to Walmart.
I tell you though, Manatee
What's
finally scored less than 50 points in the playoffs last week, but then they blanked Riverdale 38-0. So do you
so?
think they've got what it takes to knock off STA?
It's funny because when I was looking at this last week, I said on here that I had STA winning it all, but I've started to waver a bit on that because I started talking to someone. Aquinas is not the same team that they have been in the
Waiting for
past.
my bus.
However, I like STA in a very close game here, but I would not be shocked if Manatee could pull off the home
Wait for
upset
the bus tomorrow.
over Aquinas. But I do like Lakeland to win pretty convincingly, not just to get past Niceville, but I think Lakeland wins 5A overall.
I'm with Hunter on this one.
Man, I know there's not many options to select, but you seem to be on the same page as other people because that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
I got Lakeland, and STA in the final, and I've got Lakeland winning it all.
I'm with y'all when y'all right. With this, like you said, this bracket is pretty much the same as 1A. Because there's not many teams you could choose from that's going to compete against the top two teams in that classification. So I'm going with the same thing. I got Lakeland winning, third straight, I'm assuming.
Yeah, because they won 2 back-to-back suburban titles, and now they're looking to win another one.
So I got Lakeland winning 31-21 over STA to win the 5A crown.
All right, 6A is up next, and we were talking about Buchholz earlier, so this will be a good time to bring up this topic.
Yep, and
As
Buchholz
Buchholz
is
hosting
hosting
Osceola.
Osceola. Yep, and
Beagles is a team of destiny, man.
think so, huh?
Beagles lost this game last year at Citizens Field by 1 point to two-time state champion Lakeland. They're gonna go. They're gonna go to Pitbull Stadium this time around. I got to beat Osceola 20-17 to punch their ticket to Pitbull Stadium.
Okay.
I like it because I'll actually like. There was no bigger beneficiary of Armwood losing last week to Osceola than Buchholz for two reasons. One, if Armwood had won, Buchholz would have been having to go to Tampa.
Yeah.
Instead, they get to host an Osceola team that has struggled offensively throughout the season. Like they're really good defensively, but they have struggled to put up points against really good teams. I think Buchholz holds them in a low-scoring game at home to punch their ticket to the title game. And the other matchup, what was the other matchup in 6A?
West Boca Raton and Southridge.
I'll be honest with you.
Those are two
Beagles win the
solid
state
teams right there.
championship. I think Beagles could win the state championship. Look at the other side of the bracket. I think Beagles could be RC. I think Beagles could win the state championship because Armwood's not in it no more.
Yeah, those are two solid teams, but they're not like I wouldn't put West Boca or Southridge on the level of the teams that have knocked them out. They're not as good as STA was 3 years ago. They're not as good as Venice was 2 years ago. They're not as good as Lakeland was last year. This is behold, they have a dream path to bring home their first state title since 1991. This is an opportunity for them. If they could, it'll be a good opportunity for them to pull it out. I think they have a really good shot to win a state title in this class.
You talk about Beagles or you talk about the other two teams on the side? Oh yeah,
because
sure.
when you think about it, they benefited the niece who got knocked out early by Oakleaf, and then Armwood gets knocked out. So the two biggest threats in their path to getting down there to Pitbull Stadium got each other taken out early.
Yeah,
this was a benefit for Buchholz.
Well, of course, no doubt. And I said the same thing about. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's crazy that all three of us are just right on the same page because, yeah, I've got Buchholz winning it all. I think right now they're going to have a team that thinks they're the team of destiny in Boca Raton who will come into a state title game undefeated. And Buchholz will say, here, take this L. We'll take a ring.
Because I'm going to tell you this, fellas. You know who else is beneficiary for being a higher seed? Is Gaston County. Because Gaston County had to go to Miami to play Booker T. We'll have a different conversation. But the fact that Gaston County is the higher seed and they're hosting gives me a more comfortable feeling that I think Booker T will lose that game. But it's so good to be a beneficiary instead of going to South Florida. You get to host in your backyard. So it's so good for Buchholz and Gaston County to host their Final Four games at home instead of making that long trip down south to possibly come over the L. So those schools are very beneficiary for their seeding. So kudos to those two schools right there for sure.
All right, and to wrap it up, we got 7A. What's those matchups?
Venice is hosting Columbus, and then Lake Mary is hosting Dr. Phillips. So in a game where both of them are considered Orlando teams, they still might be an hour away from each other.
Orlando's so big, that's why.
Now, I do want to add in something before on that one. As y'all may know, Lake Mary and Dr. Phillips have played this year. They played back in September. Dr. Phillips pulled out a very tight win. But when we obviously it's been give or take on some of this rematch thing, it's tough to beat a team twice. Right. I think Lake Mary gets the revenge game here in the Final Four to punch their ticket to state.
I'm with Hunter. That's what. In order to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And it's hard to beat the man twice in 1 year. You probably got him with a fluke win. So I'm going Lake Mary 21-17. And I got Venice going back to the state championship again. Beat Columbus, who won it last year, I believe.
They did. And I agree with the Venice pick over Columbus also.
And Columbus was holding a different story, but the Explorers will not repeat as champions. I got Venice winning 30-27.
Yep, I've got Venice. I got Venice, and I've got Lake Mary because we've seen that it's hard to beat a team twice. And I think Lake Mary's actually going to take it down instead of Venice down at Pitbull Stadium.
So you got
But we'll
Lake
see how this
Mary.
plays out.
I'll say I got Venice over Lake Mary. Charles, who you got?
The winner of Venice and Columbus gonna win the state championship, so doesn't matter. So
So
I
you
got
got
Venice.
Venice in that scenario.
Gotcha. Sounds like he's reserving the right to change his mind if Columbus pulls out the upset. He's like,
Oh
I'm at
yeah,
least not picking Lake Mary or Dr. Phillips.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Either whoever winning
Well,
for that side's definitely gonna win.
well, I tell you, I think we accomplished the agenda here tonight. We've previewed all the Final Four stuff. We've talked about the awards. We'll get the nominees posted on North Central Florida football fan page, right? And I'm taking a look at some little certificates and stuff to get printed out and everything for our winners and try to send them to the school. So I'll need you guys to like put your signatures on paper and email it to me so I can get them printed onto the certificates and everything for these athletes and coaches and everything. Right. So um, what else you guys got? How y'all feeling? Everything else good? We cover everything.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
we did it
All
pretty
right.
good on
Awesome.
the back half too with the speed that we went through some of those games.
I'm telling you, man, because we ended up really focusing on all the kids and their accomplishments, which I felt was great because it's good. It's different to talk about the kids and what they've been doing individually versus the team accomplishments and the cities and the rivalries and everything. Because when it boils down to it, these kids are the ones out there wearing the colors, wearing the letters, and putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. So glad we got to recognize them a good bit tonight, right?
Yeah, I like how we paced it pretty well.
Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Appreciate you guys. We're gonna have one next week where we talk about our rural award winners, our local nominees. We're gonna go over who has won the state titles for rural and preview the state titles for all the other classifications. But if you got anything you want to add, make sure to join the conversation. You can start by adding a little account on Restream. It's free to do, and we'll post a link where you can call in next week. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.